on Midco Sports tonight, we recap the final week of the regular season for NSIC football. We'll show you the highlights, then David Brown breaks down the games. Then it's Coach Talk. Hear from USD's Bob Nielsen and UND's Bubba Schweigert about this past weekend's matchups. And finally, Trick Shot Tuesday, featuring a Rubik's Cube challenge from up in Fargo. All of that plus much more. Midco Sports Tonight kicks off right now.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kelly Stewart and this is Midco Sports Tonight. Well, this past Saturday marked the final games of regular season play in the 2017 NSIC football season. And with the playoffs getting closer by the minute, there was no room for error for some NSIC teams as they took to the field this past weekend. So with that, let's take a look at the highlights from all 7 Northern Sun Saturday games, starting right here in Sioux Falls. The Minnesota State Mavericks came into Sioux Falls unbeaten, but had their hands full against the number 13 Cougars. USF drives with a nice completion to A.J. Garrow, and then Michael Maxwell would finish the drive to put the Cougars up 10-6. USF led as late as the final minute in the fourth quarter, but Minnesota State prevailed with a Shane Zylstra touchdown from Ryan Schlichty right here. And Minnesota State wins this one 27-23. The win gives the Mavericks the outright championship in the NSIC. Next up, Minnesota Duluth at UMary. John Larson gets Duluth out to a good start. He delivers a strike to Dominic Bonner. That puts the Bulldogs up 7-0. From there, Duluth poured it on, scoring 62 points and getting touchdowns from 8 different players. Here's one to Jason Baltz in the back of the end zone. Duluth wins 62-27. Moving on, Northern State and Minnesota Crookston. NSU beat UMC 62-20 on Saturday. There's Nick Truin getting him from 69 yards out. Truin would go on to gain 252 yards rushing. He'd get 5 touchdowns, and that win puts the Wolves above 500 for the year. Bemidji State traveled to Moorhead to try and bring the battle axe home. They succeeded. They notched a 45-14 win thanks in part to this 27-yard touchdown run by Manny Kugma. And then Jordan Hine finds Jacob Anderson for 6 coming up right here. Short yardage. Hine to Anderson in the back of the end zone. That puts the Beavers up 17-0. And then more from Jordan Hine coming up. He hits Blair Van S, one of his 2 touchdown grabs on the day. Nice catch there. And by the way, Bemidji State totaled 10 sacks on the day in the big win. In Wayne, Nebraska, the Upper Iowa Peacocks got on the scoreboard with a Brent Lammers to Jared Edmonds touchdown. That tied it up all at 7. But then Aaron Wright came up with a big interception. And guess what he does? Takes it back 71 yards all the way to the house for the score. So huge momentum for Wayne State. But then in the third quarter, Nate Rogers caught one of 3 Aaron Bleal touchdowns, and Wayne State maintained control to win it 28-10. Concordia St. Paul came into their last game of the season on a 9-game losing streak, and were looking to bookend their season with a win over SMSU. This is true freshman Shaq Johnson throwing a 63-yard strike to Gabe Steed. That was a one-play scoring drive that put CSP up 17-7. SMSU responds in the third with a Max Simmons 3-yard touchdown run, and that pulls them within 13 off of that play. But the Golden Bears would keep a double-digit lead the entire second half and got the 37-20 win at home. All right, our final game. St. Cloud State and Minot State. Keontae Goudeau had a day. Minot State defensive back picked up 3 picks in this game. He takes this one back 30 yards for a score. The Beavers up 10-0 in the first quarter thanks to that one, going up and playing in the snow. But then Kurtwan Evans finds an opening right here, and he rumbles 25 yards to make it 10-7. But too much Goudeau. He snags another one coming up right here. He gets his second pick 6 of the day. He takes this one back all the way to the house. He would also celebrate in the snow on this one. Thankfully, we haven't seen enough of that in Sioux Falls yet. Into the snow. About to build a snowman maybe for celebration. But yeah, they get the win. Minot State over St. Cloud State 23-13. Teams took care of business on the field and then left it in the hands of the committee to determine their playoff fate during Sunday's selection show. So coming up after the break, David Brown joins me in studio to talk about the finishes to the regular season as well as what the playoffs have in store, and we'll check in on NSIC volleyball as well. You're watching Midco Sports Tonight.
Midco Sports Tonight, presented by Avera Orthopedics.